Who's on the bubble? It's a term we use a lot right around early March, late February for March Madness, but when it comes to the college football playoff this upcoming season, I think that's a term that you're going to hear us talk about a lot as it pertains to teams that are right on the edge of making or missing the college football playoff. I got a number of teams we're going to run through here for us in just a matter of moments. But welcome into the hard count, baby. It's college football season. You kind of hear it coming around the corner. You kind of can smell the smoke, but that college football train is about to arrive at the station. For me, it always feels like Media Days is when it officially gets rolling, officially, unofficially, rather. We're right in the heart of it, baby. It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, the last one on the face of the planet. We got a lot to jump into, as we always do. We're talking bubble teams. I'm talking Mike Gundy. Got some stuff to say at Media Days yesterday about the Ollie Gordon situation, and Twitter went crazy with that, as Twitter tends to do when it comes to Media Days and things that are viral. Got some thoughts on that. Got some thoughts on Arch Manning. Y'all, he's in the game. And the original thought from a lot of people was, man, Arch Manning, you slide dog, you took us for a ride. The Mannings just checkmate, chess move all the way across the board. I don't think we're 100% off base there, but I do think we need some context, and I do think that this wasn't just some master plan from the Mannings from the jump. We'll talk about that. Some game changers in college football. What are some instances or some things that could happen that would change the complexion of the sport in 2024? One that comes to mind for me, look who Auburn has on the schedule. What if that offense looks a little bit Hugh Freeze-ish? I think that would be a game changer. So I got that for you, as well as a couple of others. And then finally, DJU. Putting out a nice little social graphic. Probably talked to the guys out there at the creative department at Florida State, which shouts to them. They put us in a lot of hype videos this year, so we appreciate y'all. Said, listen, I love Media Days. I've been to ACC Media Days. I love going and talking in front of the media. I love the opportunity to address the nation as to how it pertains to me and my team. However, I wasn't on this team last year that won the ACC championship. A lot of these guys that are currently on this roster were. I think I'm going to sit this one out. Y'all can go ahead. I personally loved that, as if DJU needed any other reason to be more easy to root for. Big time move by DJU. We'll talk about that here a little bit later. If you're watching live right now, then welcome. We're glad to have you here. As I said, college football season is already on and rolling, and we don't want y'all to miss anything. So just make sure you are, one, subscribed here, and two, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast feed, because we've had a lot of y'all do that over the course of the last, I would venture to say, 2 weeks to a month. And again, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today, just skyrocketing up the podcast ranking. So that's all y'all. Nothing here from us. That's all y'all doing that works. We appreciate you for that. And we're going to keep a good thing going here. I'll put this PSA out again. We're in Dallas next week for SEC Media Days. It's going to be live on location, going to be an absolute blast. Already got a number of interviews lined up with specific individuals in the SEC sphere, so that'll be a lot of fun. The game drops next week, and I don't need to specify which game. The game drops next week. We're going to be away from home for that. If there's somebody in the Dallas area that's getting College Football 25 and is cool with us coming and playing a game with you and potentially doing some content around it, hit me up on the socials. Follow me at JD Piquel, Twitter and Instagram. Just follow me there, period, because we got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe for you. All right, let's not waste any more time, man. Let's get right to it. If you are watching live, if you're watching via podcast, however you're watching, just deep breath in, deep breath out. Mental vacation time, as Pat McAfee would say. We're just talking ball, and we appreciate y'all being dialed in and talking some ball with us. So, without further ado, when it comes to the college football playoff in 2024, who are some teams that are going to potentially be on the bubble? Now, that's a term you hear a lot in college basketball when it comes time for the tournament to be played. But this is a brand new world of college football we're moving into now. You're going to have a 12-team playoff. In the next 3 years, we're going to have a 14-team playoff. So what's the cutoff for getting into the dance? From where I'm sitting, there's a lot of talk around 9-3 and the resume and eye test, and I think that's not untrue. I think if you're 9-3, you need to kind of have that same situation that you would have when you walk into class without your homework or you're late to class period. It's like, hey, need a note. Need to have you excused for this. This doesn't usually fly with us. I think 10-2 is probably going to be the cutoff when it comes to teams making the college football playoff in 2024. And the SEC has been a talking point throughout the course of really this entire lead up to this college football playoff, in the sense that there's a lot of teams that are going to have a chance to make it into the dance. And so with that being the case, when you have a lot of teams that are contending to be in the dance, you're going to have a lot of teams that are probably on the bubble. And a team that just screams on the bubble to me from the jump is the Tennessee Vols. And a lot of y'all in Knoxville watch this show, so shouts to y'all. We appreciate you for that. I think if you're trying to go 10-2, the games that you circle as the big ones for you are Georgia and Alabama. Now, the question in terms of them getting off that bubble and into the dance is, what version of Nico Iamaleava do you get, and how soon do you get him? Because if you got first year Nico, you got up and down Nico, you got trying to figure out, the SEC Nico, well, then you're probably looking somewhere at a 9-3, 8-4 situation, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it wouldn't be what you prefer for the first year of the Nico Iamaleava era. But if you get the 5-star Nico, you get the number 1 overall player in America in the 2023 class Nico, as we had him here in On 3, at that point, I think he is the difference maker for you in games where you have comparable rosters, those swing games, the game at Oklahoma, the game against NC State. I think at that point, 10-2 is much more attainable, and I think that's kind of the difference for them getting into the college football playoff and doing some damage when they get there. Staying in the SEC, LSU, their odds to make the college football playoff in Vegas right now are plus 125. When I look at LSU, here's my thought on this. Defense, it's no secret. That's the price of admission, brother. That's how we're getting you in the dance. But if you really want to get paid, if you want to feel good about your chance to get into the dance and really make some moves when you get there, it's got to be the offense continuing on what they did last year. Now, that's asking a lot. I don't think they need to score 40 a game to have a chance to make the college football playoff. I think you probably settle for somewhere north of 35, though. The defense has their work cut out for them when you look at the schedule. You got USC, Ole Miss, Alabama. I also wouldn't sleep on the game against Florida or Oklahoma, and who knows what A&M is going to be now with the new staff out there. The bottom line is here, defense, you got to bring something to the table. If you copy and paste what last year's defense was into this season, it's going to be a long year in Baton Rouge, and they already know that. Brian Kelly knows that. That's why he went out and got himself a whole new defensive staff in Blake Baker from Missouri. All right? And Bo Davis from Texas, defensive line coach. So I like the way they're shaping up on that side of the football. I think the offense, I don't think they'll be Jaden Daniels' Heisman Trophy level of good. 3 first-round picks on that offense, good like they were last year, but that's not what you need to get into the college football playoff. The big reason why I'm circling LSU as a bubble team, and a big reason why I think that the national opinion on them is a little bit lackluster, is we're looking what's going on paper right now, which is fair. That's what you do at this point in the year. But I don't think there's enough attention being paid to Brian Kelly and the year 3 bump he typically has. Year 3 at Cincinnati, took him to a BCS Bowl. Year 3 at Notre Dame, took him to a national championship. I'm just saying, if we're trusting the trend here, Brian Kelly knows what he's doing. He told us on this very show, yeah, year 3, I'm usually pretty good. Paraphrasing, but Brian Kelly's words, not ours. I'm going to take him at his word. There's no Georgia. There's no Texas on the schedule for the Tigers. I like LSU, man. I like them a lot as a bubble team. Missouri is one that is really, really fascinating because the schedule for them is super manageable. Bama is their toughest game. Outside of that, there really isn't a game that you circle and say, yeah, Missouri's just going to be outmatched here, again, on paper. My question for them is, in terms of getting into the college football playoff, can the offense keep them at cruising altitude? Because that team I just talked about a second ago, LSU, they now have their defensive coordinator that helped lead the charge for that defense a season ago. They also lose a decent amount of production from last year's squad on the defensive side of the football. Now, the good news is, on the offensive side, yes, you lose Cody Schrader. That's not an easy guy to replace with how much production he had last year, but you do bring back Brady Let Him Cook. And, in addition to that, the best wide receiver in all of college football, Mr. Luther Burden, who we are planning with right now tentatively to sit down with at Media Days. So the offense, I believe, has to just keep pushing this thing forward. I don't think you'll get the same kind of defensive product you had last year, but with the star power you have on offense, there's no reason why you can't push the throttle down with this schedule and be a college football playoff team, and that's a big reason why a lot of folks are high on Missouri coming into this season. Now, Ole Miss is interesting too. I hesitated to even put Ole Miss in this conversation as a bubble team because you check out the odds in Vegas, y'all. Lane Kiffin and the boys, minus 125 to make the college football playoff. Minus 125. For context, that is better odds than Alabama. If I told you this time last year, fast forward the tape in 2024, and Ole Miss will have better odds to make the college football playoff than Alabama in a 12-team field, you'd probably look at me like I was a little bit crazy. The games for them are at LSU and Georgia. That's it. That's it. And if we're being honest right now, you probably feel pretty good about your chances against LSU based on what happened last season and based on your portal acquisitions and based on LSU not having Jaden Daniels. Not picking it right now. I'm just saying, so don't clip this and put it out on the Twitter sphere as my pick when that game comes around. 10-2 will be good enough for them if they get into the college football playoff. I expect them to be a playoff team. This is probably a segment for a later show, but like, is making the playoff good enough for Ole Miss? I think you'd be happy when it arrived, kind of like Christmas morning. You're happy when you finally get to sit down under the tree. It's amazing. It's Christmas morning, but now you're worried about the presents. Now you're worried about what you actually got for Christmas. It's like that old children's book. If you give a mouse a cookie, what's it going to want? Some milk. If you haven't read that book, I would encourage you to do so. Very helpful for this college football playoff era. But regardless, the SEC, a ton of teams that are going to be in that discussion for the playoff. I think those are the ones that are most firmly on the bubble as we sit here right now in July. So that's the SEC, but there's a couple more teams that need to be talked about when you talk about bubble teams. And I wasn't sure how to distill it down to just one team, so we kind of got a more overarching category here for these next two. What is the runner-up in the ACC looking like when it comes to their playoff aspirations? Because you look at the top three teams when it comes to the odds in Vegas, it's Miami, it's Florida State, it's Clemson, all relatively in the same neighborhood when it comes to their college football playoff odds. My big question is, does 10-3 as a conference title runner-up get you in? Show them that 10-3. Oh, but hey, we were second best in the ACC. Oh, you know what? We'll pull back the velvet rope. You walk right into club playoff. Is that how it works? I don't know that that's how it works, to be honest with you. Because the hypotheticals I've run through here are very intriguing. Like for Clemson, let's say that they lose to Georgia and lose to Florida State. In theory, right now, those would be the best, quote-unquote, two losses. And then they go to the title game. Let's say they rematch Florida State. They meet up with Miami. Hey, how you doing? They lose that game. 3 losses, we said already during this segment, is typically a no-no getting into the playoff. But if you're the second best in your conference, does that change things? Florida State, let's say they lose to Notre Dame and they lose to one of Miami or Clemson. So you already got a quality win on there, assuming that you beat one of those two. Losing the ACC title game to take your pick out of Miami or Clemson or some other dark horse. It's intriguing. It's very intriguing. The one that would make me the most nervous, though, if I finish second in the ACC with a 10-3 record, is Miami. Because I wonder how much meat on the bone they really have when you look at this schedule. Because I'm looking at like where you would find a second loss outside of the ACC title game in the regular season, and I don't know that there's a super attractive one on the market there. Like Florida, I think is probably from a roster perspective the most quality, quote-unquote, loss paired with Florida State. But if you're losing to Florida State, again, with this hypothetical, if you're the runner-up, and you're losing to somebody else in the regular season, is there one that really looks that good? Like Louisville? No shade on the Cards, man. I'm all about the Brom squad, all right? I'm all about the Ville. I'm a big Jack Harlow stan. I'm waiting for another album. Virginia Tech. I love Virginia Tech. Number 1 in returning production. I think they're going to be awesome, but are they really moving the needle when it comes time for you to compare resumes? Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but if you take those 2 losses plus an ACC title loss, I don't know how that would factor in. So I think what's going to happen here is when you get a college football playoff resume test, it really comes down to the quality of loss, as we already mentioned, and the eye test. Now, if you are a Florida State fan, you hear the eye test, you're already like, oh my gosh, not again. Not again. Good news is you win the conference, you're in. There's no way they're keeping you out. But I do think that that's something to maybe think about as we move on throughout the regular season here. I will give my take on this, though, for the ACC. from a roster standpoint, they deserve to have 2 teams in. Now, will the season play out that way? I don't know, but they deserve to have 2 teams in. The Big 12 runner-up is where it gets a little bit more fascinating. I think that they only get 1 team in. That's my opinion, because I think the conference itself is going to be like the Purge, where just all crime is legal against anybody any given Saturday, and it's going to be just anarchy. You got 4 teams that I think are good and that could all, quite frankly, win it. It might be deeper than those 4. Arizona, Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State, but I have a very difficult time believing we're going to get to that conference title game and have 2 10-win teams. 10-2 versus 10-2. I don't think that's going to happen. The intriguing part of this, I just said, I think it's a 1-win. I think it's a 1 Big 12 team that gets into the dance, but the way that it becomes a conversation is if you get an 11-1 Utah in Jerry World versus, let's just call it a 9-3 Kansas State, if it were to shake out that way. Kansas State wins, so they're in. Are we really leaving an 11-1, now 11-2 Utah out of the college football playoff? I don't know. That's a tall ask. That's a tall order, but that could be a path. One more on the bubble team for us to talk about here, and it's Vegas doesn't think they're on the bubble. Vegas thinks that they deserve to be in based on, or they're projecting good odds for them to be in the dance, that is. Notre Dame. Notre Dame and their preseason odds to make the college football playoff is minus 170. So for those of y'all that are unfamiliar with what that means in the gambling world, you have to bet $170 to profit $100. All right, so Vegas is saying we like Notre Dame, we like their path, they're going to be in good shape. Look at the path now, it's pretty nice. They're at A&M to start the year, you got Florida State, and you finish with at USC. Outside of that, Notre Dame should be licking their chops. Should just be looking right down the barrel and saying, okay, this is our year now, year 3 for Marcus Freeman. Went out and got that boy Riley Leonard from Duke, who was throwing down windmill dunks in high school. He's playing quarterback for us. That's a good vibe. We got pieces via the portal. I've been pounding the drum for Jeremiah Love the entire offseason. I think he's going to be an absolute stud for you. A lot of pieces now for Notre Dame. But I think the thing to look at for them is what happens if they have a lackluster performance against 2 of those 3 teams. They finish the year at 10-2. They don't get a conference title game, right? They don't have an extra chance to make a statement on a national stage on that final weekend of ball for all of us. 10-2, I think you would really hope that those 2 losses, whether it be to an A&M and a Florida State or a USC, whoever that ends up being to, and I guess if it's not to one of those teams, you'd hope whoever you lose to ends up doing their job. But you would hope that those 3 take care of business the rest of the way and make that loss look good if you end up being 10-2. Now, at 11-1, I think you're in good shape. 10-2 would make me nervous because I don't know who we're being compared to for Notre Dame. And what makes me more nervous, if we're compared to, let's call it a 10-2 Big Ten team that's out of the conference title game, how do we stack up strength of win and strength of schedule overall? Or let's just call a spade here, the eye test. Are we more impressive than let's call it a 10-2 Penn State? Potentially. I'd probably take Notre Dame's roster at this point in time over a 10-2 Penn State, but it just leaves a little bit too much up to chance if you go 10-2. So I think 11-1, you're in there. The schedule's manageable, but for me, Notre Dame, I think, is a bubble team of sorts moving into 2024. So let me know in the comment section. Let me know on Twitter and Instagram at JD Pickell. Who do you believe is currently on the bubble as we move into the glorious thing that is the 2024 college football season?
JD.
Gotta love it, man. Gotta love
JD.
it. What's going on, brother?
You want to hear the top-rated players for college football 25?
Oh, I would love to.
Okay.
I would love to so much.
Do you want to guess what the highest overall is or who the top 3 players are? They're all the same overall.
Interesting.
Do you want to guess what the number is?
Yeah, let's do
guess
that.
The players?
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Should we just make this a segment?
I think so.
Let's do it.
Probably.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that Travis Hunter is the highest-rated player. I bet they put him at 97. I think 97. I don't think there's any 99s.
No.
No.
No 99s.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
But there's no 97s.
Dang, I'm already off. Okay, I think
he's
a 97. I can't imagine they rated somebody higher than Quinn Ewers. He's the cover athlete, right? He's got to be the highest rated quarterback. I'm going to say Travis Hunter, Luther Burden, I bet you, is like a 95, 96. Well, you said they're all the same. So I guess Luther Burden, 97, Travis Hunter, 97, James Pierce, 97.
Quinn Ewers is not in the top 25.
Wow.
Number 1, 2, and 3, 96 overall.
Okay.
Will Johnson, Will Campbell, and Ollie Gordon.
Wow.
Then 95 overall is James Pierce Jr. From Tennessee. Caleb Downs, Travis Hunter at 95. Malachi Starks, Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, Tate Ratledge, all 95. That's the top 10.
Wow. Okay, honestly, no notes. One note. I'd put Travis Hunter a little bit higher because of the fact that he plays both sides of the football. But, like, there was a lot of shade being thrown at the college football 25 crew for their overall team rankings and their offense and defense rankings. Like, putting Will Campbell up there, Will Johnson up there, Ollie Gordon up there, I'm good with that. I really am good with that. I probably would put Travis Hunter a little bit higher if it were me, but I like that a lot.
Yep.
That's pretty wild. Those just dropped probably as we were on the air, huh?
Yes. Quarterbacks, 93 overall is the highest. It's Shedeur Sanders and Carson Beck. And then also note, Ohio State has a 95 overall Quinshon Judkins and a 93 overall Trayvon Henderson in the backfield.
Wow.
And I guess technically if Caleb Downs is actually going to take reps or snaps at running back, and then they're 95.
Jeez.
It's pretty good.
Dude, that's awesome. So I guess right off the bat, like we've already established, if you're following us on the socials, or if you watch this show, like if you get 3 randoms and Georgia is one of your randoms, if your buddy doesn't draw Georgia or Ohio State in his randoms, it's like, hey, bro, like, you really want to play this game? I got Middle Tennessee and you got Georgia, and you really want to play this game right now? If you got Ohio State with that backfield, like, come on, man, what are we doing? I hesitate to say this because I know the internet will push back and say that we're Colorado haters, but here goes nothing. Shedeur higher than Quinn Ewers, to me, I'm just saying, I'm not a huge fan of that. Not a huge fan of that. I would probably put Quinn Ewers ahead of Shedeur. But I get it. I see why there's an argument to be made there for Shedeur, but I would probably put Quinn Ewers ahead of him. How about that? So is there a did you already go through the top 10? I think you might have already.
I did, but I would think it's probably a good idea to re-say it. So Will Johnson, Will Campbell, Ollie Gordon, those are the 96 overalls.
Okay.
Then 95, it's James Pierce, Caleb Downs, Travis Hunter, Malachi Starks, Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, and Tate Ratledge. Then Luther Burden, Benjamin Morris, Kelvin Banks, Tedero McMillan. There's a lot of 94s. Barrett Carter and Jay Higgins. Those are the 94s.
Wow. I like Barrett Carter at 94.
Yeah.
That honestly, that does give me some confidence that, like, all right, we got some stands watching ball that are putting together these rankings, because they got some heat for the offense and defense. I get it, but like I feel pretty good about that top 10 for the most part, that top 20 for the most part, I suppose, going forward. Last question, Nick. Is there a rating on Quinn Ewers?
Not on what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the On3 tweet. There's nothing. That might be something to check out.
That's very fascinating. Okay, so if you're watching live or if you're watching this back at some point in time, the overalls are out on the On3 Twitter page. So if you're not following there, I mean, let's go. Let's get it together here. Let's follow On3. Those rankings are out, though, on the socials over there.
Yep.
That's really interesting. All right.
Okay.
Not even in the top 25?
And he's a cover athlete.
Not even the top 12. I mean, like, if I'm Quinn Ewers and his representation, I'm like, hey, we got to have a talk here. You can put me on the cover. Like, you gotta sweeten the pot for me a little bit. I got to be like at least a 93. I digress. Thanks, Nick. That was a great cut-in, brother. I appreciate you bringing the juice. I see the live chat enjoying it as well. Early sighting for the man.
Yep.
It's good stuff, brother. Heck yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's keep rolling. Hey, Nick, I got one for you here for our random college football player of the day. Jeremy Bloom, return specialist at Colorado. Also played receiver, held records for the longest pass play at Colorado, longest scoring play from scrimmage. I believe he also held a record for a while there for longest reception on his first career reception. Made the U.S. ski team at 15 years old, the youngest ever. Most combined return yards in a game I believe he still holds that record at Colorado, had 143 kick return yards and 107 punt return yards against Baylor. Just lit the Bears up. Jeremy Bloom, random college football player of the day. Nick, the reason why I said you're going to like this guy, older sister, Molly Bloom, wrote Molly's Game. You know that movie? Are you a fan of that movie?
Never heard of it.
Really? Okay. That might be one to add to the queue. I know there's a lot in there, but that might be one I'd be curious to hear your take on, brother.
Yeah, I'll add that to the Letterboxd watch list.
Yeah, follow Nick on Letterboxd. If you don't already know, if you're watching for the first time right now or listening for the first time right now, my man Nick Brake eats, sleeps, breathes the Picture House. Not the movie theaters, Picture House.
One more. So I'm going to take Jared Stidham's word for this. We can check it later.
Okay.
It says that Quinn's a 92, Milroe's a 90, Dart is a 90.
Okay. I'm cool with Milroe and Dart at 90. Quinn at 92. It's hard to be upset when you're over 90, but like, put me on the cover. Come on, man. Like that would be my argument. I'm not upset with him being 92. I would have thought he'd be higher, but I mean, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out, I guess, if he plays like a 92 and if he outperforms guys ahead of him. I don't know. That's awesome though. That's the fun part of this. Now we got ratings out. Now there's some banter to be had. One more guy I'm curious to hear about as we move on. We're gonna have a segment on him a little bit later. What happens with Arch Manning's rating? Like how highly rated is he in the game? I don't know. I do not know. Remains to be seen. So we got Media Days on and popping out there in Big 12 country, and Mike Gundy, who is always a great soundbite, drew a little bit of kickback on the social media side of things when it came to what he had to say about Ollie Gordon. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Ollie Gordon, best rated running back in college football 25 as of a few moments ago, we just found out. To me, the best running back in college football, was recently arrested for suspicion of driving while intoxicated. Also, to add to that, he was under 21, so not of drinking age. Mike Gundy brings Ollie Gordon to Media Days, which I was personally a fan of. He's like, hey, you're not going to hide from this. This is kind of what comes with being an adult. You got to face the music a little bit here. We're going to answer questions about it. You're going to be front-facing. You're not just going to stay back in Stillwater while we all go and answer questions about you. So I was a big fan of that. There were two things Mike Gundy said that drew a little bit of an eyebrow raise from the crowd. The first was when he was asked about the situation and kind of what was going to happen going forward. Mike Gundy went into talking about punishment for Ollie Gordon, and he said punishment for him would be carrying the football 50 times in his first game. Now, a lot of people got upset when they saw this, and they're like, are you kidding? You're not going to suspend him. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. He should be doing X, Y, and Z thing. To me, I think how you keep your house is how you keep your house. Like how you manage your locker room and how you manage your players, like that is your prerogative. And so I understand there's a lot of different opinions on this, but I would also probably say, or I would guess rather, that like I think something probably was handled internally. If I'm just speaking from what I know about a college football locker room, I don't know that for a fact. I can't prove that, but that's what my gut would say. Do you wish maybe he had not talked about punishment at all for Ollie Gordon and maybe not said he's going to carry it 50 times in the first game? Depends on who you ask. I don't have a major problem with that. I get why people maybe raise their eyebrow at it, but again, if you're going to make that your decision, that's how you want to handle things, your house is your house. Your locker room is your locker room. And at the end of the day, Mike Gundy's job is to win football games. That is his job. And so however he wants to handle his locker room and handle his house, he's ultimately going to reap the rewards and the consequences of that. So I don't have an issue with it. I thought that's, probably a soundbite that I get folks ran with, but I don't have a major issue with that. Now, here was the big one that people got a little bit more of a reaction with. Mike Gundy is answering the question and talking about Ollie Gordon as to why he decided to bring him to Media Days and why he decided not to, at least from an external perspective, pursue more of a punishment or suspend Ollie Gordon. And he's speaking to all those things about the Ollie Gordon situation. And he's talking about Ollie Gordon and ultimately his poor decision. And he says, okay, so I looked up what the legal limit was in Oklahoma. It's 0.08. And he talks about the body weight. He talks about Ollie being at 0.1. And he says, okay, so that's, and he's doing, as Andy Staples would say, he's doing beer math on television, which is a risky game to play. Says, okay, so that's, I'm paraphrasing, he says it's right around 2 or 3, maybe 4 beers. I'm not justifying it. But he said the thing that I think drew people a little bit off guard was, I've probably done that, 1,000 times. So the thing that people took from that was, oh my gosh, is Mike Gundy condoning having a few beers and driving? Like, no, I don't think that was the point he's trying to make here. He also, after that soundbite, said, he got lucky. People get lucky. Like, fortunate nobody was hurt. He then went on to Twitter and sort of tried to clear the air and drive home the point he was trying to make. And he says, quote, my intended point at Big 12 Media Days was that we are all guilty of making bad decisions. It was not a reference to something specific. So even with the way that he said it probably not being ideal, I don't think the point that he's making is invalid, because the black and white of the situation is Ollie Gordon messed up, broke the law, put himself, put others in danger. There's no way to slice that or spin that to where it's ever okay. Mike Gundy is acknowledging that. I think there's also something to be said for what he's saying here of like, hey, we've all messed up. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes stupid decisions. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Nobody was hurt in this situation. Now, Ollie Gordon, this is now your thing you have to deal with. Part of that is facing the music at Media Days and being an adult and being someone who is now, let's just call a spade, more or less a professional athlete. You have to deal with your own consequences. You have to now deal with your reputation and what people are saying about you in the media, all that. That's something you have to deal with. But I think the opportunity here is, how do you respond now? Do you learn? Do you grow? Do you adapt? Do you change? Do you change habits? I don't know. I don't pretend to know exactly how Ollie Gordon is living his life. That's not for me to be the moral police on. But I think when you mess up like this in a public setting, again, everybody's messed up, but now this is a chance for him to, you would hope, be able to course correct and be better here. Again, it's a black and white situation. It's against the law. It's not smart. It's not a good thing ever to put yourself in a situation like that. And grateful nobody was hurt. But Mike Gundy saying, hey, we all make mistakes. We all do things we wish we hadn't done. Now, how does he learn from it? That's the thing that I think we're going to look at here and the thing to watch here. But I understand the backlash from that comment, and I think Mike Gundy did as well. And it's why he went out and made that statement on Twitter. So Media Days, they're off and running now. Probably in the course of, he might already be on the air right now. If he's not on the air, he will be very soon. We got Colorado and Coach Prime jumping on the mic, baby. I'm excited for that. First year in the Big 12. It's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun. So everyone who's dialed in live, if you can like the video for us, we'd appreciate that greatly. Got some more to get to here, talking about DJU not being at Media Days. Got some thoughts on Arch Manning and him opting into the college football 25 video game as we originally thought he was opting out. Before we get to that, though, two things. One, get some caffeine. All right, so if you're listening on podcast, it's going to sound like your machine is broken for a second. That's not the case. Okay, we're rolling. What are some things that could change the game in 2024? And I want to look at this more from a domino effect kind of situation. Like, if this happens, obviously it impacts that specific team, but I think X, Y, and Z is also impacted because of their success or lack of success. And the thing that I want to look at first here is Auburn and the game changer that would be their offense looking very Hugh Freeze-ish in 2024. Because last year, the offense under Philip Montgomery / in the cosign of Hugh Freeze, they averaged 24 points a game. That was the lowest output offensively of Hugh Freeze's entire coaching career. So if we're trusting the numbers here, I would be very surprised if Hugh Freeze somehow, some way, had an offense that performed that way in 2024 going into his second year. The other part of this is they got some dudes now. All right, now I understand you can draw it up really nicely and you can try and put your players in position to be successful. That only works so well. Like, at the end of the day, this is a grown man's game, baby. It is a do you have the guys or do you not have the guys kind of football game, kind of way to live in college football. And they got some dudes now. Cam Coleman, I get he hasn't played a snap yet. Let's not pretend he's not Megatron. I get that we used the nickname for Calvin Johnson there. It just kind of came to our heads. But, like, that's the kind of player he is, dude. He's special. He's special. How quickly does he hit the ground running? If it's quickly, he's going to be a dog for you. Keandre Lambert-Smith. That was a big get through the portal. I think that was a game-changing get for Auburn in itself. Rivaldo Fairweather, he's built like a bionicle. I've said it many times. Peyton Thorne getting a second year in the system. You've heard me say it a lot. Spring practice was massive. Hugh Freeze now getting the sticks to the offense. That's massive. They've got major disruption potential if they end up taking the steps I think they will take offensively. I'm not telling you book your tickets to Atlanta, but you look at who they have on the schedule here. They have at Georgia, at Missouri, at Alabama. All three of those teams have college football playoff aspirations. The one I would really circle there, though, is Missouri. I think Auburn could very easily win that football game. Now, the game at Bama, we'll see what they are. The game at Georgia, we'll see what they are. But, like, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Auburn were to go into that game, beat a playoff-aspiring Missouri team, and change the whole way the playoff picture works. I also think we look at the long term here. If they have a pretty clear picture as to how this offense is trending and you see Peyton Thorne take a massive leap and you look at Hugh Freeze and say, wow, he's a quarterback whisperer. It's like, yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought Hugh Freeze, with his resume, was able to elevate a quarterback's play? I'm being facetious, of course. That would not be surprising at all. But I think someone who probably would take note of that, this is not intel, this is just logic. I think they're pushing pretty hard after Julian Lewis, who's committed to USC. Took a visit to Auburn. Sounds like it went well. I know other schools are in the mix, but if you can put that before a recruit of his caliber, a guy who plays quarterback, I don't think it hurts your recruiting pitch. I'll say that much. I get he wants to shut it down before the summer, but I don't think it hurts things. Another game changer for 2024, what if Dillon Gabriel and Oregon just don't miss a beat now? Like Dillon Gabriel, physically, the thing that we've said a lot about him going into his time at Eugene, there is nothing they're going to ask him to do that he can't do. Everything for Dillon Gabriel and his success will be how quickly he picks up Will Stein's offense. You saw a preview of the movie in the spring game. Looked like he was getting up to speed. Quarterbacks aren't live, so that's another variable of his game we didn't get to see. But everything for Dillon Gabriel will be between the ears when it comes to him having success at Oregon. I'll tell you what, man, they got some guys now on the offensive line in Cornelius and Connerly, some guys out wide in Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart. That backfield, look, I'm buying all the Jordan James stock I can find. They got some guys to where if he does his job, and Dillon Gabriel, and he operates how he's supposed to operate within the confines of that offense and gets the ball to playmakers, they're going to score 40 a game. That sounds hyperbolic. I promise you it's not. That's the kind of potential this offense has. And if that happens, Oregon is, I believe, going to have a more than decent shot to win the Big Ten. Surprise, surprise. But think about the ripple effect that would have on the rest of the conference. Because if they win the Big Ten, that means Ohio State's not. If they win the Big Ten, it means you're probably going back to the drawing board a little bit if you're other teams within the conference saying, okay, now how do we adapt to what Oregon's doing? And you see what they're doing on the recruiting trail. It sounds like Phil Knight is doing more than enough to help them bring in top talent. You add a Big Ten title to that resume. Your first year in the conference, Dan Lanning's third year as a head coach, probably making some pretty solid noise competing for a national championship. Like Oregon being the big dog day one in their new conference, I think you would like the way that works for you in the long run and would obviously benefit them on the recruiting trail. Here's a game changer now. We've hit on this a couple of times, but I want to do it one more time here as we move into SEC Media Days. Jackson Arnold, five-star cat out of high school. A lot of folks fell victim to bowl syndrome when they saw his lackluster bowl game against Arizona. I'm just telling you he can spin it. All right, I'm not telling you he's winning the Heisman Trophy. I'm just telling you God gave Jackson Arnold a lot of ability that he didn't give a lot of other quarterbacks. If you give him time to throw the football, they're going to have a chance to make some real noise and kind of rattle the cage in the SEC a little bit, their first year out there. Because they replace pretty much the whole offensive line. That's been well documented. But if they can make that mechanism work the way that it needs to give him time to get through his reads and progress and get comfortable, they got more than enough firepower in that wide receiver room to make something shake. Like Deion Burks is a name that I think a lot of folks in Norman know right now. I don't know if a lot of folks nationally know it. Transfer wide receiver from Purdue. People are going to know his name very quickly because he'll be on a lot of Sports Center highlights. Andrew Anthony, was coming on really strong last year before the injury. Jaleel Farouk, I wouldn't sell the stock just yet. I would hold that line a little bit longer. Nick Anderson was a walking touchdown. Like, there are so many dudes for Jackson Arnold to deliver the football to, and he has so much ability to where if you can just give him the offensive line to get it cooking a little bit, I think they're going to score points. Look at the defense. I feel good about the defense. I've said that many times. Mr. Danny Stud, the man, I think is going to be more than fine leading that operation. They got a lot of production back from last year's squad as well. That was more than solid. Taking another step as they move into the SEC with all that continuity. Now, the reason why that would rattle the cage a little bit in the SEC, look at the playoff candidates on Oklahoma's schedule. Tennessee, Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Bama, LSU. That's 6. Just doing the math here. They can't all make the college football playoff more than likely if we're judging off of the percentage chances of all 6 of those teams getting in. I also think that the percentage chance of Oklahoma losing to every single one of those teams, I don't know that I would buy that right now. We'll see what they are early on in the year. We'll see how they progress. But if they give Jackson Arnold time, I think it could set a nice little tone for what Oklahoma is going to be in the SEC. And keep in mind, too, Jackson Arnold only a sophomore. He's got some more time in the SEC as well and could kind of set the table for what he's going to be going forward. One more game-changing thought for us here. Look at Colorado, man. They got media days today. Coach Prime going to step up to the mic, and that'll be a lot of fun to hear him talk about his football program. What if Colorado, the game-changer for them would be if they get something on the defensive side of the ball? A lot of people rolling their eyes and saying, oh, my gosh, here we go again. Okay, side note, we can't be pro-Colorado for clicks and then also be Colorado haters. You always talk about Colorado. This guy hates. It can't be both, y'all. It can't be both. The more likely option is we're just talking about college football because we love it with every fiber of our being. Moving on. This would be a very big ask if Colorado is going to be able to have something more substantial on the defensive side of the football, because last year they allowed 35 points a game. Now there's some new pieces there, all right? They went to the portal, did what Coach Prime does, added some dudes, also new defensive coordinator. So there's an effort now to kind of get that thing headed the right direction. I get it. You went from 1 wins to 4 wins. I've said it before. Last year, in my book, that was a success. To have that kind of progress and to become nationally relevant, that was a success. The next step now is make a bowl game. And if they have something solid on the defensive side of the football, they can do a lot more than just make a bowl game. Okay? I think they're good enough to be in bowl contention with the roster they have right now. But if they can have it formulate better on the defensive side, that offense has got what it needs, I believe, to score a lot of points. We saw that last year. The run game, you hope, is able to take a step forward. But like throwing the football, there's no question about that. No question. They have one of the deepest wide receiver units in the country. Jimmy Horn, Wester, Hunter, Omarion Miller, like, and Shedeur Sanders throwing the football for you. Like, they're going to be in good shape on that side of the ball. So if you can allow them to play with a lead at certain points defensively, that changes the game. Because if Colorado can get up 10 points on you, obviously we're not saying that lead is safe because look at what happened last year in the Stanford game. But I think if this year's squad, if they up the personnel level like I think they did defensively, can play with a lead, force the opposing offense to chase a little bit, they get out of their comfort zone, get out of their game plan, could be a good way to live. So that's a game changer in a lot of ways because at that point, if Colorado does take the next step and Deion Sanders stays at Colorado, that also doesn't hurt what they do on the talent acquisition side of things. I think at that point, it removes further insecurity if you're thinking about picking a school like Colorado. You're like, okay, this is headed somewhere. This is trending a positive direction. They are going to actually be a team that factors in when it comes to the competitive landscape of college football. So for Colorado, it's taking that next step. The next step for me, putting something solid out there on the defensive side of the football. Excited to watch that. So some game changers for me when it comes to the sport in 2024. Get at me on the socials, man. Let me know. What are your game changers when it comes to this upcoming season? And quick side note, we got a lot of fun stuff coming on the social media side of things. Taking a trip to Dallas next week. A lot of behind-the-scenes content. Do a lot of I'll just call a spade here. We have a good time talking about college football 25. We have some ridiculousness out there with some point of view and skit stuff on my Instagram. So bottom line, just follow me there. It's a great place for us to interact and hear from y'all and do more content that you want to see by hearing what you want to see on those platforms. So thanks in advance for that. So I mentioned we talk about college football 25 a fair amount. Y'all, Arch Manning dropped a bombshell yesterday. That man's in the game. Because originally, remember, the thought was he's opting out of the game. The reasoning behind it was, the report at least was, he wants to just focus on football. There was also a report out there previously he wasn't going to take any NIL money until he won the job at Texas. But he's in the game. This is a great deal for all of us. There was a lot of, I think, thought, though, that, man, did Arch Manning just pull the wool over our eyes? Was this just some master plan from the jump? Got some thoughts on that. Make sure you're subscribed. College football all the time. College football 25 on the horizon. We'll talk about that as well. Make sure you're dialed in here if you're a college football sicko. All right, we appreciate you for that. Also follow me on the socials, as I've mentioned already multiple times throughout this live show, at JD Piquel, Twitter, Instagram, heck, TikTok, wherever you do your social media stuff at, we got you there with the same handle, at JD Piquel. So here's my take on this. I'll set the scene a little bit more, actually. Arch Manning yesterday did a national commercial spot with EA Sports. It's him and his uncle, Eli Manning. Eli Manning says, Arch, this is the best way to focus on football, is playing the game. Arch says, yes, coach. I mean, yes, Uncle E. And he shows him in practice now, very important little Easter egg there. It shows Arch Manning, the player in the game, in practice, in a practice facility, throwing the ball at Texas. So he announces, hey, I'm going to be in the game. It was reported via Pete Nakos. There are whispers it was right around $50,000 to $60,000 is what he got to be in this game, allegedly, or to promote this game, rather, to be in that commercial spot. The thought from a lot of folks, and I don't think they're all the way wrong, is, man, the Mannings just took us for a ride. The thought is he announced, or it got out, rather, intentionally, that he wasn't going to be in the game to create some momentum for this moment right here where he says, I'm in the game, and people get fired up and like, yes, Arch is in the game. Great publicity for EA Sports. Great pub for college football 25. So that's the thought. I have a harder time buying into that. And the reason for that being, it never really didn't make sense on paper for him to opt out of the game because it stuck right in line with what we've known about Arch Manning and the Manning camp since he was a high school recruit. Like, it was reported he's not taking NIL money until he wins the job at Texas. It's also very well documented. Guy's not really trying to be that front-facing and trying to be out in the spotlight. Like, he's trying to just keep it about football, focus on ball, do his thing, work in the shadows, and then when it's his time to be the starter, we'll, kind of look at this thing in a different light. So to have it be this thing where there was some big buildup and he didn't want to be in the game, and then now he's back in the game like as some big publicity stunt, that to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Here's what my gut is that I believe is the most likely situation. Can't prove it. We're speculating wildly, but it's a beautiful Wednesday in July, so here we go. What I've gathered from other people talking to them around this situation, or that cover the situation rather, is that they feel like Arch Manning was never 100% out on being in this game. The report gets out there, he wants to focus on football, but there's also kind of that side eye, keeping the door cracked open of like, all right, well, maybe he still wants to be in the game. Maybe he's going to end up in the game. So that's one thought, again, from talking to folks that cover this thing. The other thought that I have here is I think that not being in the game for Arch Manning and the Manning camp and their decision to go that route originally, I think that was real, but I think that it ultimately had the opposite effect they were trying to create. Because the hope was he's not in the game, don't worry about it, less attention, he's focused on him, we don't have to worry with what his overall rating is and all the extra stuff that comes with Arch Manning being in college football 25. When in fact, what actually happened was people like me got on the microphone and got on YouTube and said, this kind of feels a little bit like it's a bigger deal by not being in the game. Like, I'm not talking about Arch Manning if he's in the game from the jump, but I am talking about him when it becomes a thing that he's not going to be in the game. So if the hope was to not have attention on Arch Manning and the Manning camp, this doesn't do that. This has the opposite effect. Some folks are saying this was all about attention. And to those folks that say that, you just look at them and say, you don't know what you're talking about, brother. You thought this was an attention thing? If it was an attention thing for Arch Manning to have this moment, to be in the commercial, there would be signs that that was how he got down from the jump. Like we would be able to tell this about Arch Manning, that he's a big attention guy. Everything we know about him points the opposite direction. Because if you're big on attention, what are you big on? Social media. Arch Manning, social media activity, pretty minimal. Arch Manning didn't really do the whole camp circuit. Didn't play in any All-Star games. He could have. Promise you he could have. Didn't do that. Would be all about his NIL paper. Reports also out there, he's not taking the NIL dollar until he becomes a starting quarterback at Texas. That was the original thought. Now this obviously, it sounds like he got paid to do that ad, which to me I have no problem with. But this is a win for everybody. Arch is in the game. I think it probably puts him in a better light just from where I'm standing that he's in the game. It'd be a little bit more weird if he wasn't in the game because there's no reason to not be in the game. As college football fans and someone who's going to play this game, we got a more realistic Texas roster. I thought, honestly, that ad, too, the cherry on top was, I thought it made him a little bit more human, too. Like, we haven't really had a great gauge for Arch Manning, the person, the guy. We've seen different interviews with him in small sample sizes, like the Sugar Bowl was one where we got to see him. But, or the college football playoff, that is. I thought he was just, like, normal, funny, not a half-bad actor in that ad, and, yeah, I thought it was good. So, overall, we all win. Arch is in the game. And we're not that far at all away from this game being available to us. Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it. So we're about to get to y'all's questions here in a matter of moments. One more segment to do here. Get in the live chat right now. Nick Brake fielding your questions as he's punching the show live, by the way. And we'll unpack those in their entirety as well. So it came out yesterday from DJU that he is not going to be at ACC Media Days. DJU, obviously, transferring from Clemson to Oregon State, now at Florida State, to be the starting quarterback for the Noles. And as a media guy, you're kind of like, oh, man. Like, if you are doing what I do for a job and talking about things that happen at Media Days, you're like, man, I would have loved to hear DJU talk about his time at Florida State so far and what he's learned and all that. But as a football guy, which full transparency is really where I have the most allegiance, is to the people that play the sport, coach the sport, are a part of this sport. I love it. This is a boss move. And for those of y'all not understanding what I'm talking about here when it comes to him opting out of Media Days, DJU sounds like was given the opportunity to go to ACC Media Days and represent Florida State. He put out a statement yesterday where he said, hey, I appreciate the opportunity. However, this team won the ACC last year. I wasn't there. A lot of my teammates were there. I want them to have the opportunity to go instead of me. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. Like, if you want to win over a locker room, you do something like this. Because DJU was brought there to be the starting quarterback. We've said it on this show for a long time. There is a very big difference between being QB1 and then being the guy. If you're QB1, that's your position. If you're the guy, you got the locker room. Those dudes on 4th and 1 maybe block a little bit extra hard for you when it comes to that extra yard they're trying to get for you. Like, there's something to that. And I think great teams that win at the highest level, they have the guy at quarterback, not just someone who's starting at quarterback. So it's also worth noting now that since he's pretty new to Florida State as a whole, like, this is his chance now to kind of, or this is his opportunity. This is his window now before the season starts with a shorter runway to win over the locker room. This is a big-time move, and this is a big reason why you brought him here. Like, no, not to miss Media Days, obviously. But I think the draw with DJU when he was available in the portal was experience, played a lot of ball. With that comes maturity. With that comes leadership, the understanding of good and not as good cultures, or what cultures are successful and what aren't. That's not me throwing shade at Oregon State or Clemson. I'm just saying you play a lot of ball. You know what works and doesn't work from a locker room perspective. I think that's great. This is exactly why you brought him there. And we root for DJU on this show. We do, man. Like, he's had a very difficult road since getting to Clemson. He was supposed to be the guy after Trevor Lawrence. He was supposed to be the guy to keep the national titles rolling in at Clemson. Didn't work out that way. Transfers to Oregon State. There's still a lot of things being said about him as he leaves Clemson and what he wasn't, and he's this and he's that. And it's like, I would love for nothing more than DJU to go out there at Florida State and light it the heck up, man. Light it up. And everybody that had an opinion about DJU has to go back to their Twitter sphere, Go back to their old tweets, delete them. Because I think for him, this is his chance now to make a statement as to who he is as a player, make a lot of, in some ways you could say, redemption as to what hasn't gone his way as a player. Because the situation for him at Florida State, I think, is ready-made for success. Mike Norvell, the best coordinator he's ever had. You got the radio in the helmet. I think you got the best skill players you ever had around you if you're Florida State and DJU. I love this. I love that he's not going to media days for the reasons he's not going, and I think his teammates in his locker room probably love him for that same reason as well. So DJU opting out of media days to let one of his teammates from the ACC title game go, from the ACC title team go, rather. Program guy move from DJ Uiagalelei. Good chat today, man. Got a lot of people in there. We appreciate y'all being dialed in. If you're watching live, go ahead and give us a little subscribe action. All right, we're pressing towards 200K. I'm just going to say it. Selfishly, I would love to be there before the season starts. I get that's asking a lot. But I would love to see us get to 200K subscribers before the season kicks off. So if you're listening on podcast, just subscribe to the feed. We appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. 200K on the horizon, and it's going to happen because of y'all. All right, so thank you in advance for rocking with us and making that happen. Let's go to that man who's making it all happen. That's Nick Brake. Nick, what's up, baby? What's going on in the chat today?
What's up? Hey, Rocky Top Tom says earlier campaigning to get people to like the show.
Heck yeah.
So Rocky Top Tom, thank you for that. For my UT friends who think Florida's trash, please shed some light on underestimating them. I hate them, but you can't underestimate Florida. I love that.
It's brutal, man.
Just to be clear, Rocky Top Tom does hate them.
Yeah, showing his allegiance, and I mean he's right. You can't look past Florida. Definitely not in the past, but definitely not this year either. I think the tougher part too is when you draw Florida at home. They're just a different beast. I mean, they are. I mean, I've talked to different people that have played there or coached there. Going to the Swamp and having a game played there. It's different. It is. I think Florida's a different team at home as well. They have been in the past. That's one of those reasons why I'm eyeing that Miami at Florida game, to start the year. Miami has the better roster. Miami, I would say, has the better quarterback. But when it goes to the Swamp, man, all bets are off. So, yeah, I don't think you can ever underestimate Florida. One more thing I'll say, too. A lot of people are just shipping them down the river because of their schedule. The schedule's brutal, but the schedule has nothing to do with what you have on the actual roster. So, yes, they have their work cut out for them, but don't be surprised in the slightest if Florida pops up and wins a game that, as we sit here in July right now, they're not picked to win. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Hey, Jonathan Rayfield, our good friend, asked a good question. What do you think the rankings, or at least some of the rankings, will be for the starting freshman quarterbacks, or any freshman quarterbacks for that matter, in the EA Sports College Football 25 game?
Ooh, any freshman quarterbacks. So I guess you would probably have who? Raiola, Lagway. Sayin. Raiola's the only one out of that bunch I would say is going to start right off the jump. Mm-hmm. Who else am I missing here? I think that's probably the big three. Raiola is probably the only one that, as a true freshman, I would look at as starting. This is tricky. I think Lagway, if we're going off of our own on-3 ratings, will be the highest rated quarterback. Sayin tore it up though during spring practice, per the good folks over there in Columbus, Ohio. I wouldn't be surprised if Raiola ended up being the highest rated of that group just because he's going to start. How does that factor into making him a higher rated quarterback? I don't know, but I will say this. I don't think any of them will be over 86. I think probably sub 85 is about right for a true freshman quarterback. But tell you what, the read option game with DJ Lagway is going to be filthy at Florida on that game. Like I'm gonna sub in DJ Lagway, have him some packages, a couple of quarterback design runs, maybe a little pop pass off of it, a little jump pass, a little Tebow action. Love that. I don't know if they have the jump pass in the game or not, but if they do, I'm using DJ Lagway and getting the folks in the Swamp riled up. So that doesn't really answer your question, but I think sub 85 for all those guys. Lean Raiola being the highest rated because he's a starter. How about that?
We know Jonathan likes Nebraska, so I do think there was a little bit of hope, you would say, Dylan Raiola.
Oh, okay. There you
going
go.
with that in the end. Good for you.
There we go. Heck yeah, John.
Rocky Top Tom to respond says, I think they'll be hesitant to rate any freshman quarterbacks higher than an 88 or 89. Well, seeing as like Quinn Ewers is a 92, I'd be shocked if any of them had that high.
And Dart's a 90?
Yeah.
Like no chance anybody's touching 88. I'm with you. Yeah,
I'd honestly
sub 85.
I'm going to go like 78, 79.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
That's what I'm going to think.
I don't think that's bad at all. I'm with you.
We've got a lot of good questions, but one that just came in I think is a good one to end on. I'm sorry, everyone, we didn't get to your questions today. Okay. No, I have two. Is that okay, JD?
I love it, man. Let's do it.
I've got two because I do have one circled.
Perfect.
Raymond says, what do you think about Deuce Knight, the commit for Notre Dame? I know you like him, so I wanted to ask the question.
Dude, that's a great question. Hey, this is just you putting on the tee. We're just getting the bat ready to go swing at it. The dude's physically a freak. Let's just start there. Physically a beast. The comps that they have for him at Notre Dame, when we sat down with Deuce Knight's like, yeah, I walked into Coach Denbrock's film room and they put on Jaden Daniels tape for me and say, you're already doing this at a high school level. You're going to go have success in the future playing college football doing the same thing. Now, obviously, Deuce Knight is not the same caliber of Jaden Daniels as a senior in high school, but the point remains his skill set is ridiculous. He's extremely physically gifted, and I'm excited to see what he is in college. I'll also say this, after sitting down with him, the way that he carries himself, to me, if I'm passing him the keys to be the face of my franchise, more or less at the collegiate level, I feel really good about. Dude has a swag about him, a confidence about him, operates like an adult, clearly the centerpiece of that Notre Dame class. And, I think he's a stud. If I could buy stock in any of these dudes right now, I'd probably put a pretty hefty amount of stock dollars into Deuce Knight at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I thought he had a good attitude and was really nice, too, when we met him.
Just a good guy. Yeah. Carried himself well with the media, like just how you would want your quarterbacks to respond to things and how you want them to carry themselves in a situation like that, you know?
For sure. Again, if we didn't get to your question today, come back tomorrow. There are a lot of good ones. I saw one from Jared that's good. I think Sam and Ricky, of course, too. But I'm going to end on this because I do like this one a lot, and I think it's a good one to close our show on. Key to success. Ask JD, with as deep as the Big Ten is, with as deep as the Big Ten is this season, is it possible for a lower level team to sneak into the Big Ten with an easier schedule? Keys to success example is Rutgers, since they have a manageable schedule here this season. JD, do you have a team that you think could do it this year? Nebraska, Wisconsin. I know you're high on a few of them.
High on Wisconsin. I'm high on Nebraska. I'm trying to pull up some of these schedules right here to give a better answer to our guy here.
Not to say those are lower-level teams.
No, by no stretch of the imagination. But, like, you think about the big dogs. It's like, okay, it's Ohio State, it's Michigan, it's Penn State, it's Oregon. Outside of that, Penn State really should be 11-1. We've said that many times. Wisconsin, they play Penn State, they play Oregon, they dodge Ohio State, they dodge Michigan. Again, we were a year early on Wisconsin last year. I like them. I like them a lot. USC, they don't play Ohio State either. They have a tough non-conference with Notre Dame and LSU, obviously. They're at Michigan. They play Penn State, but no Oregon, no Ohio State. If they can get some defense together, man, that's the question we've been asking now for the last 3 years. But if they can get the defense together, I guess 2 years since Lincoln Riley's been there, but the point stands. If they can have a defense with that new staff over there, which they are absolutely going back to the drawing board, dry erase, make it all over from scratch again, who knows? Because Lincoln Riley offense, who knows? Probably the two that I would lean towards are Wisconsin and USC to maybe be like in the dark horse category out there. The team that probably flies under the radar a lot, though, too, how about Iowa? I think Iowa's a team to watch as well. They got a new OC out there. I like the direction they're headed out there. Defense is always going to be good. Special teams is always going to be good. Identity for them at Iowa. We'll see. I think so. Those three, Wisconsin, Iowa, USC, are ones that I would keep tabs on for being kind of those sleeper teams in the Big Ten. But it's a deep conference. They said it right on the money, man. It's a deep conference. and it is going to be Hunger Game style with no more divisions. So I can't wait to watch it. No divisions in college football is going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's one of the changes that I am for when it comes to the new college football landscape we're in.
It's how it should be, I think.
How it should be. Heck yeah. All right, Nick. Break take. What we got?
I'm playing kickball tonight. Got a
Hey.
game.
There we go.
So that's good.
How we feel?
Feeling good. I haven't played forever. I played like one game in the last 2 months. Been a lot of rain here in Nashville. Only on Wednesdays, though.
So here's the question. Is that rest or rust for you in your mind?
Oh, it's rest.
Yeah, let's go. You stay ready.
Yeah.
Let's go. So if you hear the sound of broken glass and you're in like the East Nashville, Germantown area,
Yeah.
it's because Nick Brake just hit a dinger into your next door neighbor's window. All right? Just launched that thing. Quick story too. The first time I met you, Nick, I don't know why I asked you this question, but I asked you, Nick, what is something that you would say you are the best in the world at? Do you remember your answer?
Kickball?
You said kickball.
Did I really?
Let's go, baby. I love it.
Man,
I love it.
I would only say I've gotten better. Not to brag. I mean, it's really not bragging when you're saying you're good at
You should
kickball.
brag. Yeah, you definitely should brag.
That's a very small flex. It's like saying, "Oh, I'm great at skee ball." Oh, good
great at
for
skee
you.
ball. You're great at skee. I mean, if you're great at kickball, you're great at kickball. Like, hey, men lie, women lie, facts don't lie.
True. Very true. Well,
love
let's
that.
hope I do good. Let's hope the team does good. I'm excited.
Guys, always bring it back to the team.
Yep.
Team first guy, program guy, Nick Brake. Hey, good luck tonight, brother. Dingers are about to just rain instead of rain like it has been the last couple of weeks. About to be just 100% chance of dingers for you and the boys and girls because it's co-ed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, best of luck.
Yep.
Fired up for it, brother.
I'll be like Alfred D'Elia tonight. And,
Let's only hit. What a callback by you, Alfred D'Elia. If you don't know who we're talking about, go ahead and YouTube Alfred D'Elia. It is worth your 30 seconds. Appreciate y'all being dialed in and making this show what it is, man. Again, we got a lot of fun things cooked up for you. Some stuff on social media. We got Media Days next week. Would encourage you to not miss a show. Best way to do that, obviously, is being subscribed here. Follow on the socials. Got a lot headed your way. So from us, from Nick Brake running the show, from yours truly being behind the mic here, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Same time tomorrow. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all.